There's a famous saying, assumption is the mother of all Okay, let's stop there. I think you know the rest of that saying. And I should probably be using more professional words here, like assumption is the mother of all errors or mistakes. But I'm not sure those words fully capture the emotional weight of the message I want to convey today. Making assumptions and then treating them as truth can be debilitating, irresponsible, and sometimes downright dangerous to our personal growth. And I have made an assumption in my life that has proven to be completely inaccurate. The scariest part of this assumption is that it is about something very important to me. And I only realized this in preparing the content for this episode. But on the bright side, discovering the error in my thinking and beliefs has given me a fascinating idea for what I know will be a short podcast that you are sure to enjoy. Intentionality with Paul Kempf, for people who lead with intention and live with impact. Welcome to another milestone on Intentionality with Paul Kempf. This is episode 70, and by the time it is released, it will be almost exactly 2 years since the recording of our very first episode. We are still going strong on IWPK, more determined than ever to make an impact and build a community of intentional people here in South Africa and around the world. Only 30 more episodes until the aspirational episode 100, where I hear apparently the real magic begins. If you like what you are hearing or seeing, please follow and subscribe and share our content. Your support is truly appreciated and helps us grow our community. Today's episode builds on something Francois and I discussed in our last masterclass episode about legacy. Go and listen to it if you have not yet. Well worth a listen. And that discussion also built on a discussion in an earlier episode where I dissected the topic of emotional intelligence. Again, a popular episode that is well worth a listen. And you'll see shortly why today's episode is a continuation of that discussion. So what was my important but incorrect assumption? It revolves around Stoicism and energy. For about 5 years now, I've been reading about and exploring this interesting ancient philosophy. I've enjoyed some really thought-provoking, truly life-changing books by Stoic thinkers. The best one for me personally being Discipline is Destiny, written by Ryan Holiday. Ryan also hosts a podcast called The Daily Stoic that I enjoy and highly recommend as a starting point if you want to learn more about Stoicism. And while we are on this point of recommendations, I have a question for you, all of you, that I want you to think about very, very carefully. In fact, if you do not have a good answer to this question that comes to mind immediately, pause this episode and give it some thought. So what is the one book you would recommend most to friends and family? The one book that has probably had the biggest impact on your life so far? That one book for me is Discipline is Destiny, and I have actually bought it for and recommended it to a lot of dear friends that I believe need some more discipline in their lives. It has also been a recommendation of the week on IWPK before, so for today's recommendation, my tip of the week is to go and listen to Ryan's podcast or read any of his other books, including The Daily Stoic. And after that longer than usual introduction, we can finally get to my incorrect assumption. Although I have loved many of the principles of Stoicism, I have hesitated to embrace it fully. Why? Because I believed that its core philosophy was in direct conflict with another one of my core life philosophies. Over the last 70 episodes of IWPK, I have regularly shared with you different beliefs and secrets to a successful and happy life that I've personally applied. Principles like intentionality, living with more gratitude, accretion, and the level of energy that you show up with in the world. And it is with this last one where the perceived conflict with Stoicism arises. For me, showing up with the right energy is a non-negotiable in life. I believe that approaching everything in your life, every aspect of your life with positive energy, passion, enthusiasm, unbridled optimism, and a fire in your belly is essential for a successful and happy life. To me, this has always seemed in stark contrast with the popular image of Stoicism, which often conjures up figures who are detached, dispassionate, and almost emotionless. Hence the assumption. Luckily, the research for this episode has shown me the error of my ways. And this makes me incredibly excited because it means that two fundamental beliefs in my life are no longer in conflict. They are, in fact, powerful allies. So, is a passionate, energetic life compatible with Stoic principles? And where does living intentionally fit into this ancient philosophy? Let's delve deeper into this fascinating topic. Before we start, a quick note on pronunciation, as I have gotten it wrong a few times already in the past. It's Stoicism, and its followers are Stoics, not Stoicism and Stoics. For context, Stoicism was founded in Athens, Greece, around 300 BC by a man named Zeno of Citium. He taught from a public colonnade known as the Stoa Poikile, or painted porch, which is where the philosophy gets its name. It later flourished in the Roman Empire with famous adherents like the philosopher Seneca, the former slave Epictetus, and one of the most powerful men in history, Emperor Marcus Aurelius. At its core, Stoicism is a practical philosophy for living a good life, what the Greeks called eudaimonia, which translates not just to happiness, but to a state of human flourishing, or a flourishing life. The key to this life, the Stoics argued, was found in virtue, and they identified 4 cardinal virtues. The first being wisdom, knowing what is good, what is bad, and what is indifferent in your life. The second, justice, treating others with fairness and kindness. The third, courage, facing challenges with integrity and resilience. And the fourth, temperance, exercising moderation and self-control. A central tenet is the famous dichotomy of control, focusing only on what is within our power, our thoughts, judgments, and actions, and accepting everything else as external beyond our control. The goal wasn't to eliminate emotions, but to avoid being controlled by destructive ones that arise from flawed judgments. If this philosophy sounds relevant to you today in our modern lives, you're not alone. Stoicism is experiencing a massive modern renaissance. It has become a go-to framework for entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, professional athletes, and even military leaders. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of podcasts and YouTube channels dedicated to Stoicism. Channels like The Daily Stoic have millions of subscribers, and a 2023 report from The Guardian noted a significant surge in the sales of Stoic texts like Marcus Aurelius' Meditations since 2020. This isn't just a niche interest, it's a global movement of people seeking an anchor in a chaotic world. I believe this popularity stems from a deep societal need for resilience and meaning. In a world of constant distraction and uncertainty, Stoicism offers a timeless, practical, operating system for the mind. Now, let's address the core of my incorrect assumption. How does the Stoic ideal of a calm, rational mind fit with the high-energy, passionate approach to life that I advocate for? I believe the misunderstanding starts with the word passion itself. To the ancient Stoics, the Greek word for passion, pathos, meant to suffer or to be acted upon. They saw passions like overwhelming fear, irrational anger, or crippling jealousy as diseases of the soul, irrational judgments that hijack our reason. In that context, of course you would want to avoid passion. But that's not what we mean in the 21st century. When I talk about living with passion, I mean living with purpose, enthusiasm, and deep engagement. I'm not talking about uncontrollable energy and emotions. I'm talking about a deep, driving energy directed towards a meaningful goal. And this is where the philosophies align beautifully, and the false assumption I made becomes clear. The Stoics were not passive, disengaged people. They were senators, generals, artists, and leaders. The difference lies in the source of their energy. A Stoic's energy doesn't come from external validation, fleeting pleasure, or a desperate need for a specific outcome. It comes from an internal commitment to act virtuously, to do the right thing, right now, with excellence. Let me try and illustrate this with a practical example. Think of it this way. Unstoic energy. I must close the deal. My happiness and self-worth depend on it. This leads to anxiety, desperation, and emotional turmoil, especially if things go wrong. Now, the opposite example, stoic energy. I will apply all my skill, wisdom, and energy to closing this deal because that is the right and virtuous action to take. The outcome is not fully in my control, but my effort and intent are. This leads to focused, effective action without the crippling attachment to the result, to the outcome. This is not a lack of energy. It's a purified, focused, and resilient form of energy. It's the difference between a frantic fire that burns out quickly and a focused, intense flame that provides consistent light and heat. The Stoics would call this volition or joy, a rational elation that comes from acting in alignment with your best self. Here's the crucial piece I believe I was missing in my assumption. The Stoics didn't just advocate for avoiding negative emotions. They actively cultivated positive ones, which they called eupathia, or good emotions. Unlike the destructive pathos, which are based on irrational judgments about externals, like needing a promotion to be happy, eupathia are rational, emotional states that come from within. This isn't detachment, it's wise engagement. This brings us to the ultimate connection, the bridge that makes Stoicism so powerful for us today, the link between Stoicism and intentionality. A Stoic life is, by its very definition, an intentional life. It's a life chosen, not a life that just happens to you. As the philosopher Seneca wrote, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Here's the 3 ways how I believe Stoicism and intentionality connect. First, clarity of purpose. Intentional living starts with knowing your why. The Stoic quest for virtue provides that ultimate why. Your goal isn't to get a promotion or to buy a bigger house. Your goal is to be a good person, to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. This provides a clear and consistent vision for your life. Second, intentional action over reaction. The core of Stoicism is asking, is this within my control? This single question forces you to stop, think, and act deliberately, rather than reacting emotionally to events. It is the practical application of intentionality in every moment. And third, discerning your desires. Modern life bombards us with things to want. An intentional life requires you to choose your desires carefully. Stoicism provides the tools to do this. By stripping things bare and seeing them for what they are, as Marcus Aurelius advised, you can detach from socially programmed desires and choose what truly aligns with your values. Living intentionally means deciding in advance what matters to you and then aligning your actions with those values. Stoicism provides the philosophical backbone for this practice. It teaches you to define your own success, a virtuous character, and then provides the mental tools to pursue it with focused, positive, and resilient energy, regardless of external chaos. So, is there a conflict between Stoicism and a high-energy, passionate life? Absolutely not. They are 2 sides of the same coin when viewed through the lens of intentionality. The Stoics teach us to build our foundation on the rock of virtue, something no one can take from us. The internal security doesn't drain our energy. It liberates it. It allows us to engage fully and passionately in the world, in our work, in our relationships, in our communities. Because our core well-being is not on the line, we can give our all to the process, detached from the outcome. This is the ultimate form of intentional energy. It's not a fleeting reactive emotion, but a deeply sustainable and joyful commitment to living out your highest values. It's the fire in your belly, not fueled by an ego, but by purpose. That is the challenge and the invitation from the Stoics, and from me to you today. Don't live with incorrect assumptions. Dig deeper, see the connections, live with intention, build your foundation on virtue, and then bring your full, focused, and joyful energy to every moment. Thank you for joining me for this 70th episode of IWPK. I hope this exploration helps you reframe your own approach to energy and purpose. Have an amazing, intentional week. You've been listening to Intentionality, where we grow together. Please like, subscribe, and leave us a rating. And if this helped you today, share it with someone else on the same journey. Until next time, keep showing up with intention.